to PA PoliChicks. I'm Nell McCormack-Avon.
Hi, I'm Flora Pastorero. In this episode of PA PoliChicks, we're talking about something that really has become relevant, especially because of the Me Too movement and everything that's going on in the world. We're talking about professional business etiquette and how men and women should really be acting in the office.
You know, this one strikes home for me as the mother of 3 Generation Z students, young adults who are now entering the workforce in various degrees. They have to know how to conduct themselves, and sometimes they're not quite sure about how to do it. And unfortunately, we encounter lots of adults who are in our same age demographic who struggle with what exactly is the right thing to do. But as you said, the Me Too movement has placed the whole male-female, any kind of dating scenario into question. Can you date in the office?
Well, and you know, you have 3, I have 1, and he's asked me questions. And he has said to me, Mom, can I say to a girl, she looks hot? And I said, no. And he said, why not? I said, because it has sexual undertones to it. You cannot say things like that. He said, what can I say? What if she does look really nice? I said, then you can compliment her and tell her you look very nice today, but you cannot say anything that has any type of a sexual undertone to it. You have to be so careful. And I have these conversations with him all the time, not just how to conduct himself at work, but also he's in college. How do you conduct yourself at college, on campus? You have to be so careful, which leads us to our guest today. Our guest is Lynne Breil. She is the owner of The Professional Edge in York County. Lynne has also written a book. It is called Best in Class. Hi, Lynne.
Hi there. I am so thrilled to be on your show and talk about this very important and timely topic.
We love it that you're here today. First of all, tell us, what is the Professional Edge? What do you do?
In a nutshell, we teach people how to behave in business.
You have your work cut out for you.
That's what everybody says.
Lynne,
and that leads into, when we talk about business etiquette and some of the things that people should know about, it's really how to introduce yourself and tell people what you do that helps other people. And that's what I say. That's my stock answer. I teach people how to behave in business, and the reaction is exactly what I got from the two of you. Oh, well, you have a lot of work to do. You know, I mean, I've been hearing that for a long time.
It's crazy. I like to say when I first came to Harrisburg, it truly was the Wild West. The things that were said to me by professionals would just curl your skin. I had one boss who I had not been hired yet. I was being interviewed, and he said, "Are you really as good as they say you are?" With just that kind of voice. And what do you do with that?
Is that a question to Nell or to me?
To you. What do you do with that? What do you? If you're a woman, my God, what do you?
What do you say?
Like, what are you implying? I wasn't quite sure what to do. But that, to me, was totally unprofessional.
I do a hot potato. You know what, the hot potato game, you throw it back to the person, and, you know, you ask the person more about what exactly do you mean about that? You know, what exactly are you asking me? You know, and really let them work their way out of that one, because I needed to buy time with that.
I did. I think I laughed it off. I was much younger then when he asked me that question.
Well, and you talk about something there. You were much younger then. I do think that certain things are said to younger women who may be caught off guard, and maybe some of those things might not be said to a more mature woman like me and like you, that they would think twice about that. Lynne, let's start with men in this situation. What do you say to young men in general, how they should be behaving in a professional setting, especially in light of what's going on in society today? What do you say to them? What's your advice?
Well, I think the number one thing to keep in mind is it's really about respect, and it's about how your actions are going to be perceived. So, for example, I'll give you an example. If you are calling a meeting and you're a male manager and your meeting is with a female individual, you know, have your cubicle area open, have the office door open so that people do not think it is behind closed doors. If you want to get together with an opposite sex colleague, if you're a male or a young man, let's say that the female you want to meet with has landed a big client at the firm that you're interning for, and you want to find out how she did it. Instead of saying, I'd like some time to talk with you, be specific and say, I'd like some time to talk to you about how you landed that big client, because I'm looking to get into sales, and I want to know how you start to build a client base. It's about being specific. It's about being intentional. So, in the book, we talk about everything from, body language to handshakes. There's a message with handshakes. Really, handshakes are the only legitimate form of touching in business. So one of the mistakes that young men make, I see, and even older men, is the two-handed handshake. Do you know what I mean by the two-handed handshake?
Yes.
Okay. So any female would tell you that if it's the first time that you're meeting someone, the two-handed handshake, if a male gives you a two-handed handshake, it's a little too familiar.
It's creepy. It's creepy.
Yeah, there's a body language basic, and men, young men, older men need to know that.
What about for women? Let's say your boss is wearing a really nice suit. I go back to, again, 30 years ago, when I first met my husband. One of the things that stood out to me, he worked in the Capitol here in Harrisburg. He was a sharp dresser. That attracted me. Like, he took care of his appearance and he looked good. How can you say that as a woman to a man without appearing to come on to them? Or is it just verboten? Don't even go there. Just drop the subject.
If I were a young woman, I would think it would depend on age and your status in an organization, because in business, it's really not gender, but it's rank that kind of determines, who goes through the door first, who gets the best seat. But, how to say that? I'd probably not say that if I were a woman, or I maybe might say it in a group of people. But I will tell you, this is what I found, that when it comes to women, a form of touch from a woman to a man, it could be misconstrued as an indication of something that you would want to go further on. Whereas a man touching a woman, even if it's a brush against your arm, isn't interpreted the same way.
That's interesting,
there's
because
a little bit of a differentiation in how things are interpreted.
I'm definitely a touchy-feely person, and I think about it. I think I've done that a lot. Men
you touch
or women,
me all the time.
Stop touching me, right?
Stop touching me. Don't touch me.
Well,
let's go back to when you were talking about the two-hand handshake, when she's saying like this, the two-hand handshake. And if a male says something inappropriate to a female and it makes her feel uncomfortable, what is she supposed to say back to the male? What is she supposed to say if she gets one of those two-handed handshakes? What is she supposed to do, and how do you handle that professionally?
Well, first of all, if it's a one-time thing, a two-handed handshake, get over it. You're fine. But if that handshake, the two-handed handshake becomes a touch on the elbow, and by the way, it's interesting because touching above the elbow is perceived a little bit differently. That's not appropriate touching in the workplace. Yeah. But, I think that the woman needs to, it's kind of like a once and done. If the behavior continues, then it's something to either directly handle and say, I don't appreciate that behavior, or I'm not comfortable with that behavior. And, here again, watch how you're saying it. Your tone of voice means a lot. Use every interpersonal skill that you have. You can say it in a way that it's direct and it's kind and respectful. But if the behavior continues, then it's really something to go to HR about.
One of the things I was wondering too, in today's world, sometimes it can seem a little dated, but I love when someone sends me a personal follow-up note thanking me for participating in something. And I've stressed that with my own children, that is part of business etiquette. Always thank someone for the interview, and always follow up with a personal note, even if it's handwritten. Of course, they don't do cursive anymore, so
they don't
they're
even know how to
literally
do it.
Printing. But I said there's something about that extra human touch that is very nice, and it can still be professional. Is that true? Am I giving them good advice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really is about responsiveness in today's business world, and responding, getting back to someone. A handwritten note says so much. I say to audiences all the time, how many of you have ever gotten a handwritten note from a business colleague or your boss? Okay, the hands go up. And then I say, well, what did you do with it? And very seldom do I hear, I threw it away.
I know.
They keep it.
I've kept them.
Yes.
I have one friend, I'll give her a shout out, Amy Beamer Murray. She's at Pavone here in Harrisburg. She sends a lot of women I know personal notes with cards. I have saved every one of those. It means something. It's mentorship for women being mentors to other women. So important, too, in the business world.
It is important, Lynn, and to touch on that, okay, so you don't have time to write that handwritten note. Is an email good or isn't it good enough?
Email can be good. And again, we're very used to a very quick response today in business. The problem with the email is that, certainly maybe people perceive that it's not as personal as the handwritten note, but certainly it's very quick. The other problem with email is the way people are, the salutations in an email, hey, or I even get, yo, professor. I mean, come on, really? So we're going to write an email. And by the way, written skills, our written communications are still sought after skills by employers.
Yeah. It's one of my bugaboos. People cannot write.
They can't write. So be careful. Your salutation matters. You're having a signature block matters, so that people know how to pick up the phone and contact you. And by the way, you said something about sticking your business card in every note that you write. Perfect.
That's okay. I do that. I do that a lot.
I don't. I don't.
But then I wonder, do people think I'm trying to get business out of them, which is not really what sometimes I'm trying to do. It's just, hey, here's an easy way to reach me, so you have my information.
Lynn, we talked a lot about men and young men and how they should be behaving. There's another part of this equation. Let's talk about women and young women who are entering the workforce and how they should be behaving. I mean, we want respect. I think we all want respect. But I've been in situations where I have worked with younger colleagues, and I think that maybe sometimes their behavior is not really appropriate, or maybe they're not coming to work dressed appropriately. So let's talk about what women need to do to get the respect that they feel they deserve.
Yeah, I like the way you mentioned dress, because that's one of my top 3 pet peeves. And, I think back to a class of young professionals that I had taught, and I mentioned that for their presentations, I would like them to dress in business casual or business professional. And a girl raised her hand and she said, "You mean, do I have to dress like, like cute?" And that just kind of took me off guard. So her definition of business casual or business professional was cute.
Oh, that's
cute. I also had a young lady in a seminar ask me, a big company, and she was dead serious. She wasn't trying to be funny. She raised her hand and asked, "By the way, I just want to know, how much cleavage is appropriate?"
And if you were to ask a man, he might say, "There's no such thing as too much." Right?
Right. Exactly.
But what is? What did you tell her?
Yeah. Well, I told her the right answer is that no cleavage is appropriate. So here's a good thing to remember. I don't care whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, young man, young woman. That anything that you wear that emphasizes the biological differences between a man or a woman is not appropriate for the workplace.
So if you're showing your body parts, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. I remember a situation where I was doing some training for a pharmaceutical firm. Now, if you've ever gone into a pharmaceutical firm's annual sales meeting, it's like, a Miss Universe pageant and a Mr. Universe pageant. I mean, these people are really beautiful people. They're in sales, and they want to get in doctors' offices, and they do a great job, and they're smart. I don't mean to, be offensive and say anything like that. They're only hired by their looks. That's not true. But they're beautiful people. And I walked into the room, and there's this young man with the biggest biceps I have ever seen in my life. And, he had on a polo shirt that was the sleeves, the short sleeves were kind of stretched out to accommodate the biceps. Well, I was going to be working with this group for about 6 hours. I had a group of about 15 young professionals, and I just couldn't get past that visual image. And I think sexuality really scrambles the mind. I mean, all day long.
I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think I could get past that either, right?
He'd have like Popeye arms. Is that what you're telling me?
They were Popeye arms.
Yeah, Popeye arms. That's
But
how
I can picture.
Think about your packaging, and how, do you ask yourself, does this dress, what does this dress say? Because clothes send a message.
Well, maybe he was trying to send a message, and maybe he dressed that way on purpose.
But I have to think, though, there are people out there listening who are saying, whoa, that is too broad a brush to say, don't use your physical attributes to help you. And I'm not saying, you wear a dress cut down to here, but there are many styles that are maybe a little bit more revealing, but still they're marketed as professional clothes by major retailers. If you go into the professional women's clothing section, you're not all dressed like someone out of The Handmaid's Tale. You're not all covered up.
Do you remember those dresses, the Jessica McClintock, that the collar was up to here and the lace was everywhere? I mean, we're not at that point.
I don't know that, what is the objective of major retailers? Obviously to sell as many of those articles of clothing as they can. Who really has the answers are image consultants, professional image consultants that have certifications. What these people are saying about what looks best, what colors look best, what kind of fit looks best. Those are the people who have the answers. And those are the people who enhance your image. Obviously, I'm a professional speaker, and I know that how I look has a lot to do with how I'm perceived and how easy it is for people to buy into what I'm saying.
So first impressions are lasting impressions. Respect is earned, and you're not going to get respect if you come dressed to work in a super short skirt, low plunging top that you're dressed to go to a nightclub. So you can't have it both ways, ladies. You just can't.
No. I mean, I even had a part of my book, the top 20 things not to wear in the workplace. And a lot of them have to do with, it's both for men and women. We're not just talking about ripped jeans. We're talking and long dresses. We are talking about the tops that reveal, too much skin and, midriff and so forth. There is that message. These are things that I collected from other professionals, my research that just didn't make the cut as professional things to wear.
Lynne, very insightful.
It really
been a
was.
pleasure having you here. Best in Class is your book, and if people want to get a copy of that, where can they get this, Lynne?
The website is www.bestinclassbook.com. It's available not just in physical hard copy, but as an ebook. And so I am so thrilled that I was in this interview with you both, and thank you for your great questions.
Thank
It's been
you
a pleasure.
so much.
Thank
And,
you.
To me, this is about investing in yourself. Learn proper business etiquette. It will last you a lifetime. You will, I think, earn more money over the course of your career, and certainly more respect if you observe basic human kindness, decency, and professionalism.
And really always, focus on we see first and we hear second. If we don't like what we see, we're not going to listen. If we're distracted by what we see, we're not going to listen. And if you want respect, it's earned. And that's the bottom line.
It is. So thank you for listening this week to PA PoliChicks. I'm Nell McCormack-Abom.
I'm Flora Pastorero. As always, we love to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What are your comments? What do you want to hear us chirp about? Just send us an email, PAPoliChicks@penwatch.org. Thanks for listening, and we will be back next week to chirp about another topic.
Thank you. Bye-bye.